What do you imagine when you think about autumn and Halloween? Chilly temperatures, pumpkins, the ever-changing scenery of the environment, hayrides, trick-or-treating, spooky figures in the genre of horror? We talking about McDonald's! $5 for food that cost upward of 50 cents to produce? Horrifying! Ice cream machines left so unmaintained that employees would rather just claim they're broken because of the sheer amount of spoiled dairy products and possibly a few critters running around? Disgusting! Grimace? He's pretty cool, actually. Corporate dissatisfaction aside, it's no secret that McDonald's has become something of a titan in the fast food industry. But that doesn't mean they haven't dabbled around elsewhere in order to take their marketing to the next level. If anything, that only solidified their rise to power. As most of you are probably familiar, McDonald's has made content in quite a few mediums, all to remind us of who owns and controls us. Mickey Mouse. Some of you probably know all about the various McDonald's branded video games that exist. From MC Kids to the Sega Game Gear, no, I am not making this up. They have done all they can to expand their grasp on the public. There's also all of the social media activity going on as of more recent. From the recently passed Grimace Shake trend to the as seen on thing that was going on. I'm actually writing this script in September, so I have no idea if this is still a thing, but I still have no idea what was with that. I can only gather that McDonald's simply took every example they could from popular media, such as movies and TV where they popped up, but then turned it into a menu or something. I have no clue beyond that, honestly. But that's beside the point. Did you know McDonald's, a few decades before they took content from other sources to make the As Seen In promotion, they actually made their own show? Yes, I kid you not, a fully animated, very well animated I might add, cartoon series featuring 6 full-length episodes featuring Mr. McDonald himself as well as his expanded cast of friends as they go on various adventures to quite a compelling plethora of locations including literal outer space and the fucking actual Cretaceous time period, including both beginning and ending segments filmed in live action, plus a touch of visibly dated CG for certain characters per each episode, a surprisingly catchy soundtrack for a kids show, and very well written and charismatic characters. This series was released starting in October 9th, 1998 and would release episodically
Get it?
up until the release of its last official episode and oh damn. I thought the series ended in 1999 as the end credits for each episode would feature a teaser for the next set where they announced their release date in 1999, but apparently their final episode, Monster of McDonald Land Loch Ness Monster themed and inspired episode, actually didn't come out until 2003, only releasing online with no physical copies available. Huh, you learn something new every day. Anyway, let's talk about Ronald. Good ol' McRonadon. Donald McRonald. Roland Dolan. The characterization the franchise has given to Ronald was a twist, to say the least. Most clowns you see portrayed in media, or even in real life if you catch one of the 7 clowns that still exist doing their thing in the circus, typically have a relatively goofy, hyperactive type of personality that pursue jokes and gags left and right, never missing a beat if they know what they're doing. Not to belittle what they do. Lots of those guys struggled just to stay on their feet and started that line of work because they just wanted to see the things they could do add just a little extra shine to the lives of those they perform for. But then let's look at Ronald. He's much more reserved. He doesn't put on a funny voice. He doesn't play pranks on people. He rarely ever uses his literal clown magic unless it's necessary to move the plot forward or protect his friends. All things considered, he's actually a pretty bad clown. He could still be relatively outgoing and a little silly, yes, but mostly just in a rather tame way. But he's not a bad person either. Throughout the show, you could see Ronald's best traits come out and you could see him wear his heart on his sleeve. He cares about his friends. He's much more mature than those around him. He's level-headed, calm, and thoughtful. He's also considerate and selfless. He uses his magic not for himself or to be the star of the show, but instead, as stated earlier, to save his friends from danger, to protect the people close to him, and as a tool to create solutions to the group's problems. It may sound odd when put this way, but Ronald kinda has a sort of parental role in the series. It's actually pretty noticeable in much older McDonald's movies too, such as the Treasure Island movie. He keeps an eye on his pals and offers guidance when they need help, never criticizing or chastising them, but offering a nudge in the right direction. His voice is also disarming, almost relaxing or trustable in his mannerisms and complete lack of accent or impediment, keeping an almost perfect standard English dialect. We also have Sunday, Ronald's pet dog? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if this is closer symbolism to being friends or a pet and his owner. Sunday the dog is sentient with a full capability for speech, so I'm really not sure what this would be considered. Characterized in a very ironic way, we have a dog with a deep, gruff voice and a conflict-avoidant yet cocky attitude. Very much the opposite of what most people imagine seeing in that of man's best friend for a personality. But I don't necessarily mention this in a negative way. Okay, yes I do, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I see deliberation in this design choice. It's very ironic and clearly done for the sake of humor. It speaks to the effective use of the unexpected, also known as the element of surprise. Grimace, our dearly beloved, everybody knows him. But for those less involved with the lore of McDonald's and its mascot characters, Grimace is a soft boy. I have no idea what race or species he's supposed to be. All we currently know is he Orple. Grimace is a soft-hearted, gentle giant. He's often seen as somewhat of a scaredy cat, avoidant to conflict if he can help it, though in a different way from Sunday. Where Sunday is closer to a Squidward, Grimace is closer to... well, let's be honest, he's just grimaced. I know that doesn't help in the context of a video essay, but trust me, after watching for a little while, you get what he's about. He's also endearing and pretty high on my list of favorite characters from the show. And then we have Nightmare Fuel. Then we have Birdie. I probably have the least to say about her. I really hate the way she's characterized here, but I'm not certain if that's the fault of the writers or if she's just always been this way. One thing is for certain though, she is ugly, dude. The way they drew her face is, it's not right. It looks like the drying flesh of a yellowed corpse is just kind of sitting on her face to cover up what's underneath. The way it folds and wrinkles in weird places in those horrible, uncanny eyes. She's relatively harmless personality-wise, though it can be noted she occasionally acts kind of like Nami from One Piece, but instead of a lust for money, she just has a lust for the extravagant, lavish, and fancy. So basically the things you buy with money. Let's just move on. Hamburglar is easily the funniest dude out of the group. He's very mischievous, imagine that, and loves to pull pranks, get up to shenanigans, and generally be a hoodlum. Though at the same time, that's kind of all that can be said about him personally. But hey, you don't need a complex character background to make a fun one.
Burglar? Birdie, relax. Hey, where's Tika and the Nuggets?
Hey, where's Perry?
Other characters prevalent are less focused on and fleshed out, including the Fry Kids, who I've only ever seen show up in literally one episode ever, and disappear after like halfway through at that. The McNuggets, or whatever you call them, that are literally just anthropomorphic chicken nuggets, though arguably are at least more endearing than the Fry Kids, as well as two human characters who pop up from time to time. Two kids, a girl and a boy, both of which I likely shouldn't talk about here since it's potential spoiler territory because this first episode is the literal only one either of them have a significant bearing on the plot in. Well, technically, the time travel one does involve the boy a bit, but he's basically only there to introduce the time machine, and then he takes a back seat to the mascot characters the rest of that episode. Yikes. Anyway, I'm scared of how long I've already drawn out this video with the script alone and an extremely limited deadline.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
And I haven't even actually talked about the episode yet, so we'd better make some headway, huh? The first thing we see as we move into the world, or city, or continent, country? What is this place again? Well, regardless, we hover over the land of Ronald McDonald land and sweep into view of the man himself's own home. That, I feel like that grammatically doesn't line up, but it felt right, so just shut up. We get the introductory song and scene that accustoms the first 3 episodes of the show. Seeing Ronald get forcefully torn from his peaceful slumber by Sunday, the dog who hates fun and getting plenty of rest. It's charming though, altogether, and seeing him go through his whole wardrobe just to wear the same thing he's been wearing since God knows probably the 70s is pretty funny when I think about it. So when we really start the episode, we find Sunday watching scary stories and pissing his non-existent pants when suddenly Ronald exclaims that for a while he's been wanting to see the movie that's currently playing, so he joins in and, well, that's actually pretty much it for a setup. Spooky. After a while, they get so caught up in their scary movies that when they suddenly get a video call, it scares the ever-loving Jesus out of them. Phone jump scare. Tika's called them, the the little girl kid. I guess I could have told you her name, but if I told you her name but not the boy's name, you would have been pretty sus about it, so just... Tika's called them and has invited them to go out camping for the night because of the nice weather, and Ronald accepts the invitation. Though Sunday is a little... Okay, he's a huge baby and doesn't want to go camping outside in the nature.
You're a dog!
Ticks. I don't like ticks and fleas.
Oh, actually, on second thought, yeah, I freaking hate ticks. My bad, that's valid.
Hey, Sunday, can you find that new flashlight we were working on?
Okay, Ronald. Another day in McDonald land.
So the transition they used to swap between the live-action cuts and animated sequences were actually really clever and well done. The whole gimmick for these first 3 episodes is that by jumping through a tube slide and into a ball pit, they transition into 2D, and it's not only impressively drawn, but also sounds fun as hell, to be completely honest. Ronald looks a little worse for wear, but hey, can you blame the guy? He has drawn Rugrats style. Anatomy takes a backseat so stylization can come into play.
Need that much luggage. There's like 10 of them. 3 are the size of chicken nuggets, and 1 is an actual child.
Hi, Ronald. Hi, Ronald. Hold on a minute. I'm carrying all of you?
Oh no, yeah, cool, talking car. This is fine. I see nothing wrong here.
You're the car? Well, don't blame me when I sprain an axle.
Just what we need. Dual airbags and an attitude problem. I hope you leased.
So, we're on a road trip now, and conversation is struck. Tika exclaims she's surprised Ronald is so fine with going to the far-flung forest, yes, that is the actual name, and Peaks grimaces curiosity, or maybe more appropriately his fear. So, Tika goes on to tell them about a phantom that haunts the forest, and the only reason I'm going into this much depth about a random conversation from the car is because of this one image right here. Ronald can see right through Tika's crap, and he's so done. This is literally the closest thing to anger or annoyance he ever shows. And it's because some kid is trying to pull one over on everybody. So, to cheer up the gang and reassure them that this is going to be a fun trip, Ronald starts up the first song of the episode, and for a song based on repetition like any road trip song, it's actually pretty catchy. I love the bass line to it.
It's the best, of course. If you want to get close to the greenery, then camping in the wild is the place to be.
There's flowers
And squirrels.
and fish and frogs, caves and rocks.
And lots of bugs.
You know, after watching through the song, I just realized who Ronald reminds me of. The man in the freaking yellow hat. You know, this guy, Curious George's parent. Or stand-in for a parent. Even their voices sound familiar. I'm half tempted to look up and see if they're similar at all. Oh my god. Okay, so never mind that last thing. They aren't related in the slightest, but I just found something disturbing while poking around the cast of the show. The live-action portion of Sunday's character, he's not a puppet. That's a real dwarf actually roasting in a hot fursuit for who knows how much pay. Is this okay? I mean, little people need jobs too, but is this moral? Is this okay? It almost feels like picking on them. Am I reading too into this? The guy looks pretty happy in his pictures on Google, so maybe he was chill with it, but damn. I feel like it would be pretty embarrassing to get cast for something just because I look one way or another based on circumstances beyond my control rather than based on my level of talent. Yeah, let's just move on. We make it to the camping site, and on our way down the marked pathway, the show makes a pretty big yip about Tika dropping a walkie-talkie out of her backpack. I don't, it seems pretty normal to me. What are you hiding from me, show? I'm onto you. Okay, and now we have a camera pull out of nowhere? Show, are you trying to tell me something here? Tika clearly looks up into the camera and gives a thumbs up. Can you at least pretend to be less obvious? Like damn, even the nightmare bird sees what's up almost immediately. The guys take a break and everybody grows impatient with how much longer it'll take before they get to the campsite. Hamburglar suggests Ronald just whip up something magical and get there in no time. Honestly, not a bad idea. But Ronald rejects the idea for the sake of exercise. So Hamburglar tries to pull a prank that will be the big funny and hides behind a bush to use a bear call in hopes that it'll get the show on the road. It sure does scare everyone. Unfortunately, he seems to have misunderstood what a bear call implies. At least it does seem to work, as we transition right over from Ronald shaking off the bear to them getting to the campsite, where we hear the next of 3 songs in this episode, and arguably my favorite of the bunch. All the songs here are bangers, honestly, at least in my opinion.
Pitching tents and gathering wood.
Time to work, no time for food.
Time to set up camp. Come on now, let's all get cracking.
Later on, there's time for snacking.
Time to set up camp.
Let's go.
We're running from a bear.
Let's go. No time to fix our hair. Let's go.
Don't be slow.
Show the experts what you know. Time to work so we get paid.
Have a pleasant holiday. Time to set.
Ah, Tika with teeth. Get her away from me.
With the song being a sort of montage time passer, we fade to the group sitting around a campfire where, of course, Hamburglar is terrorizing Grimace and talking about spooky stuff, mostly just the same Phantom of the Forest mentioned previously. Ronald sees this coming from a mile away and takes Sunday for a walk because presumably he still's a dog, and the guy knows his little buddy's going to be distraught with night terrors if he listens to scary ghost stories. I swear to God, Ronald is the most genuine character in the show and I love him. He's mine now.
Don't you know it is not polite to terrify people? And your point is?
So, after a short moment where we follow Ronald on his walk, we cut back to Hamburglar pulling the mother of all pranks and somehow using a whole-ass rope and pulley system he apparently rigged off screen to absolutely terrify everyone when Ronald comes back. Sees all the commotion, asks for Grimace's help, and confides in him that he has a hunch he knows what's going on, and catches Hamburglar red-handed. The fact that he has zero regret on his face tells you how much of a baller this dude really is. I just can't hate him despite how much of a goon he really is. All of a sudden, a huge storm front moves in, and after exhausting all other options such as, umbrella flowers, Ronald exclaims he discovered a large mansion in the distance while he was on his walk with Sunday and tells everyone to grab their stuff and hurry over to it for shelter from the rain, wind, and lightning. Man, that sounds kind of cool for a name for a band or a song. Rain, Wind, and Lightning. I'll give you that one for free. The gang makes it inside just to find themselves suddenly locked in with what may be the smoothest animation in the entire series as Grimace throws it back trying to open the door. Upon short inspection, it seems they've gotten themselves trapped inside of a haunted mansion, and we lead to the first half of our last song. Yes, you heard me right. This one is a 2-parter. But we're 2 for 3 in terms of actually catchy music, so don't go sighing your dreary sorrows just yet.
It's wild and scary. The walls are hairy. It smells all musty and everything is dusty.
It's really too bad that the wind is so gusty, cause I sure don't feel at home. What's that? Is anybody home? This place is creepy, but you must admit we won't do better on a night like this.
Where do we start? Where should we go? There's something behind that door.
Well, it's dark outside and the rain is coming down.
Animal-powered robots. Huh. I didn't know this place was owned by Dr. Eggman.
Let's rock.
Raw Ronald notices the fact that the chair is completely incorporeal isn't because it's a ghost chair, but rather that it's a hologram. As if that's any more likely than 1998, but whatever, I guess. Already, you can see how intelligent Ronald is and how quickly he picks up on clues for what's really going on. It's an admirable trait, and yes, I am aware I've been singing his praises left and right, but bear with me, I'm just being genuine. Everyone soon finds themselves stuck in a dead end filled with knobless doors and no way to open them, when suddenly an aberration of sorts appears above them, uttering only a single riddle and disappearing as quickly as he arrived.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
As everyone ponders what bearing the riddle has on their current situation, the Fry Kids, the useless ones, grow impatient and almost immediately head toward one of the doors and try to kick it down, but are met with one of the classic blunders, a trapdoor. And you can tell how much seemingly no one gave a damn about them because Ronald wasn't even paying attention to them. He just hears them scream and gently exclaims,
Everybody stop! Fry Kids?
Like, bruh, even the most genuine guy there didn't notice them yell about opening doors all their life and literally attempt to stomp one down until they scream his name. I'm not complaining. It's just so hilarious to think even the writers could not care less about the Fry Kids and dumps them off the second they get the chance. So after that kerfuffle, Tika spots a literal giant plate on the ground with silverware to match. Realizing the crux of the riddle, the part that says, "You're finished when your plate is full." Everyone steps onto the plate and waits a moment as the second half of the riddle mentions force of will, implying one's ability to sit still rather than scruff about trying to touch and prod everything in sight to progress. And just like that, we get our open doorway and move onward.
Let's call for help.
Kind of big for a phone booth. And it became personal with me.
We wander into an actually pretty comforting looking library. It's even got a fireplace. Wow. That is, until Hamburger, of course, acts like a dolt and starts poking around, activating a lever that turns the entire room into a giant hall of mirrors maze. The apparition appears once more and basically just tells them how to get out. I'm not even kidding. He was only slightly cryptic about it to the point Ronald didn't even really explain it differently. He just reiterated what he said and gave context, and that's it. What's with this ghosty dude? Does he want us to escape or what? Literally Riddler looking ass. This segues us into the second half of our last song and, well, you get the idea.
How do we know what to do?
We're lost almost, but we've got a clue.
What kind of plot have we fallen into?
Where do we go? What do we do?
If we hold hands and follow the clue.
Finally, we make it to what could be described as something resembling a boss room. Big empty room with nothing in it, and only a singular door at the end waiting for you. But there's a catch. The entire room moves from under you when you try to get the door. Then, surprisingly, Grimace actually comes in clutch and knows the answer. The team spreads out in all directions as, even if the door moves, there'll just be someone else it's moving towards. So, the room basically rage quits and turns into a large dark VR dome where, surprise, the mystery Riddler ghost reappears. He congratulates them on their progress and notes that they were the only people to ever make it this far into his series of games, as he calls them, but warns there is still plenty more left to come. Ronald comes right out and demands the dude identify himself, to which he responds, "Here's the fearsome Franklin."
What?
Absolutely horrifying. He announces his reign over the area, goes on about ignoring clues and brute forcing doesn't work or something. I'm gonna be honest, I literally had this video pulled up while I was writing the script, and even after just hearing this dude talk, I already forgot half of what he said. He tells Ronald the only way they can win is by pitting their brains against his, and Sunday immediately implies everybody in the room is a complete ignoramus. Wow, thanks buddy, you really are man's best fucking friend, huh? One by one, the dreaded Franklin asks each character a riddle riddle, and one by one they get the wrong answer and get swept away by seemingly supernatural forces until we're left with only Grimace, Ronald, and Sunday. Ronald notices a certain pattern and challenges Franklin, or I guess he more like provokes him, I guess. Franklin gives him his hardest riddle yet, and Ronald and Grimace are on the clock to solve the question before it's too late.
Here's a tough one. What costs nothing but is worth everything? Weighs nothing but lasts a lifetime. That one person can't own, but two people can share.
After a lot of thinking and Grimace being himself, Ronald realizes the answer, and ta-da, it's the cheesiest thing you could imagine.
The answer is friendship!
Franklin throws a sissy fit tantrum over him being right, and Alt F4's out, leaving the three to investigate. Grimace says one of the most wholesome things I've heard all day.
I'm not scared, 'cause you're here.
And they discover a suspicious cable running across the floor leading to a door.
That was too easy. Maybe if I ask him some differential calculus.
Franklin was a child. Franklin was a child. So basically, we see Tika and the McNuggets hanging out with this kid who's got a bad case of mid to late God of War 4 Atreus attitude problems.
How do you know?
Watch your tone, boy.
And it turns out they were inside agents the whole time and lured Ronald and all his friends over. If it weren't for everything basically just being a series of puzzles and simulations, I'd say that was a pretty dark twist. You know, if it wasn't made for kids. Ronald does the funny Batman thing and shows up behind Franklin with his back turned and confronts him. He demands only 2 words be uttered from the small boy's mouth.
You win!
Suddenly, dad jump scare. How many times have I said so in this video so far? A lot? What's a few more? So, in classic Scooby-Doo aftermath fashion, all is cleared up and it turns out Franklin, the boy, is the son of the brilliant scientist, and they live in this mansion. While his father was away, Franklin, being something of a scientist himself, had overridden the technology to the virtual reality equipment / room they had and was setting up elaborate challenges to test his friends and, well, not so friends. This, as you could suspect, was highly against his dad's rules, and he gets a serious, stern head shake of disapproval. He pretty much gets off scot-free with nothing more than a forced apology he couldn't even necessarily have to mean genuinely.
This kid is not to be believed.
And could have just said to get everyone off his back.
Franklin?
Okay. I'm sorry. Now can we go camping?
This is why you don't force your kids to say thank you or apologize. Teach your damn kids the actual meaning of apologizing and how to repay someone for their misdemeanors in ways other than empty words. But, being a generally really cool and chill guy, Ronald accepts his apology anyway and even lets Franklin join them in their camping trip. Oh, yeah, and Tika apologizes too for, pretty much betraying her friends. I can't be all that negative about it though. It's a genuinely sweet moment in the end, and the phase out from the animated portion leaves a soft spot on me. Oh wait, that's just fact. For our last little live action bit, we get to see that storyline about Sunday and his horror film watching habits come full circle. With the recent adventure they just went on, Sunday realizes he'll be fine watching scary movies because in all honesty, as long as he's with his good friend Ronald, he knows everything will be alright. He's finally become a good boy. The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald was a pretty notable part of my childhood, probably one that not a lot of other kids my age had in common. Even for how short-lived the series was, I don't doubt it had an impact on how I grew up as a person. Be prepared to hear that sentence come up a lot in the future. Ronald's tame but caring personality likely informed a lot of my own personality growing up, as well as a bit of Grimace. I'm not the most comfortable in confrontational moments. I never grew up with much of an accent, despite all kinds of different areas that were significantly, rural, and I've always been relatively mild in temperament. Well, until life started being life and I began developing all kinds of issues that probably should have been checked out a long time ago. But thinking about the purest part of myself as a child growing up in a neighborhood full of kids, going to the same school as everyone else and having a full childhood for just a couple years before everything changed, yeah, those days were alright. I used to own 4, and on occasion 5, of the 6 episodes in the series. I say that in such an odd way because one of them kept disappearing and reappearing out of thin air for years at a time. It was always a blast just putting a tape in and watching it until the VCR finally blue screened and rewound all the way to the beginning, just to either play it all over again or put the next episode in. In a way, I think this show represents a lot about the simpler times, back when we had much less to worry about and we could just hang out with friends and play outside and laugh as we threw thousands of miniature pebbles into the air that we could grab handfuls of from the playground surface, screaming fireworks and covering our arms over our heads to block the rocks falling on top of us. The smell of dirt in our hands from playing around, walking around in the woods and taking in the scents of the mixture of various trees that to this day I've never managed to replicate or find again. The excitement of getting to go next door to my friend's house and play the PS2 together until Mom yelled at me from across the yard because I was there too long. Various toy trucks and action figures scattered across dirty patches of ground where the grass was trampled. Okay, maybe most of these were a bit too personal and specific for most of you to relate to, but then again, I have seen way more specific things thousands of people my age relating to in memes. Maybe there's a certain connection between all of us we just lose track of as we get older. It can be very hard not to stress out on bills, taxes, rent, buying a car, getting a license late in life, finding a home to call your own in the current housing crisis, even apartments. I can't and don't blame you if things are too hard right now to do this, but if you can, even just for a few minutes, try to go back to living in that world we lost so many years ago. Indulge in your nostalgia and search for your joy and passions. Find something maybe you forgot and relive it. The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald is an episodic series of short films released on VHS from 1998 to 2003, with the last installment being extremely rare and only released online. Despite being made by one of the largest corporate titans of capitalism, it was clearly made with a lot of love and has lots of amazing qualities with excellent writing, animation, and a memorable cast. If you ever want to check these out for yourself, they're all free to watch directly on YouTube. There's even a playlist for them. I don't know how long they'll be around or if YouTube eventually takes them down because they need all the money their stubby little hands can get, but definitely give it a shot. With all that said, guys, thanks for joining me. This was probably a much longer video to boot compared to my last one. I hope it was entertaining enough to keep you invested. And hey, if you're still here, either it was, or you fell asleep. Or couldn't be bothered to change it. Could be a lot of things, really. See you next time. Happy Halloween. I have a Patreon account. Still haven't updated it yet, but you can look forward to a list of shoutouts at the end of every video once things are up and fixed, as well as a lot of other cool things too. Did you know making content while working full-time plus 18 hours of overtime weekly sucks balls? Did you know it's very difficult to find the time to make content that way? Did you also know that by throwing in as little as $3 a month, you could support me on my path to doing this stuff full-time so I can dedicate all of my time to it and make videos way more frequently? It's a bit of a goal, I know, but with your support, it's totally viable. I also have a Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and actually that's about it. All under the simple name Gamersnack. Go check them out if it suits your fancy. We also have a Discord server. Technically, it's not actually dedicated to my channel, but it is my primary server. You can come hang out there and I'll even be around to say hi. And thanks to everybody who helped in the making of this video. And with that out of the way, guys, have a beautiful life. I need to go take a shower.